6 days from now, 30,000 people will hit the pavement, running 26.2 miles from Hopkinton to Boston. This year, as you know, marks the 120th running of the Boston Marathon, a race steeped in history. Joining me now are three people who are an intimate part of that history. Bobbi Gibb, first woman ever to run Boston 50 years ago, well before women's running was sanctioned. She was later retroactively declared the women's winner of the 66, 67, and 68 races. Great to see you, Bobbi. We're also joined by the male winner of that last year, Amby Burfoot, and subsequently editor-at-large for Runner's World. Great to see you, Amby. And author, by the way, of a great new book. It's called First Ladies of Running. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're also joined by his college roommate at Wesleyan, who some of you may have heard of, Bill Rodgers, four-time Boston Marathon champion and former record holder. Bill, it's great to see you.
Good to be here.
Let me start with you. 50 years ago, in your brother's Bermuda shorts and a bathing suit, and unlike what we learned the next year with Catherine Switzer being pulled off by Jock Semple, you not only ran, but the men running around you sort of welcomed your involvement, yes?
Yeah, nobody knew I was going to run, and I had written for my application to run, and they had written back, Will Cloney, the race director, wrote back and said, women are not physiologically able to run marathons, and we can't take the medical liability. It's a men's division race. The longest distance that the AAU, the Amateur Athletic Union, sanctions for women is 1.5 miles.
And when you first applied, it was in '66, I think, right?
Yeah.
And they rejected you because of your gender.
Yeah.
You weren't trying to be a trailblazer. You just thought, you had no idea women couldn't run, right?
That's right. I trained for 2 years for this and never dreamed of this.
What is that thing in your right hand, by the way?
This is a sculpture. One of the things I do, I'm an attorney, I practice law, I also do neuroscience, but I also went to the Museum of Fine Arts School many years ago, and I love to sculpt. I find it
beautiful.
this is a woman runner, and we're trying to have a woman runner placed along the marathon course, not this one, but I try to catch the life, the sense of life.
You do, you capture it. So Amby, when you won in '68, there was a woman winner, it was her. Did you have any idea in '68 when you won the race that there had been a woman winner of the race?
The honest truth was that I didn't, although we always were very, very accepting, warm, and happy to have the women in there. I didn't know. When you're going for the win up front against other fast guys, you're so locked in your own world, you don't know about it.
Why did you write this book, First Ladies of Running? She's one of them. 22 inspiring profiles of the rebels, rule breakers, and visionaries who changed the sport forever. Why?
Because there will be 13,000 women runners in the Boston Marathon on Monday, and many of them don't know these stories. Many of them, in fact, don't know about Bobbi Gibb, and they don't know about many of the other women I wrote about. And these were the pioneers. Their stories deserve to be heard.
So when you were back at Wesley, you're a Wesleyan kid,
Yes.
right? Did you ever think your roommate would amount to anything, or not really, right?
I always knew Bill was a talented runner.
Oh, it was him, that's right, okay.
Yes.
And what did you think of this kid?
He was a talented runner, but to say that I knew he would win Boston and New York 4 times, total lie.
He didn't win it for 7 years after you did. What took you so long?
I think I didn't really understand the marathon. I was born in Hartford. It wasn't until I moved to Boston and saw the marathon that I got the feeling that Roberta had and Amby got from his former coach, Johnny Kelly, who introduced him to the marathon. We had someone who helped us get there. Roberta was a different situation. She was first. I can't even wrap my head around that one, as I say. You know, how did that happen?
Speaking of first, what's that thing you're bringing here, Bill Rodgers?
This is a shirt my brother Charlie made, and with a quote from Roberta, which says,
I ran the Boston. Will you read it?
I ran the Boston Marathon out of love. Roberta, can you read the rest of that? It says, I believe that love is the basis of all meaningful human endeavor. Roberta Gibb, first woman to run Boston.
I love that. Is that for me, I hope? I
That's
should hope
you.
so. Now you have no choice. I asked for So you ran, what, 75 is your first win. 2,000 people, is that roughly it?
Yes.
So other than the sheer volume, now it's 30-something, what's the basic difference between that and 40 years later, Bill Rodgers?
Well, the difference is, of course, the women came in. It was, I don't know how to describe it. Amby could describe it better because he's followed the sport so closely. The other big change was prize money came in, and that was a struggle as well. And I think it was all because the International Olympic Committee ruled the world of track and field and marathoning. And that's where Will Cloney and Jock Semple were trying to keep those rules in place. you have to have rules breakers to make things better sometimes, and that's what Roberta did, I think.
You guys all ran. I read a lot about you, all three of you, and I knew the two of you, but not you before today. I've read a ton about you in the last couple of days. You all ran for the joy of running, and it's great you also won races. Is that different now because of the money, because of the corporate sponsorship, or is there still the joy thing that pushes people from start to finish?
It's absolutely the same. And of course, there's a handful looking for a paycheck. But the 13,000 women running Boston on Monday are running out of joy and liberation and independence and strength and to push back their horizons, just like Bobby did.
So, do you think that's the case? You still run, do you not?
Yeah,
You
I
all
run.
still run, yes? Yes,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
do. And you're
yeah.
run. I know we're going to talk about you running, I think, on Monday, yes.
Yeah. Well, I run, an hour or two a day. I love running.
Every day now?
Well, not every single day, but, at least 5 or 6 days a week, yeah.
How did 3 years ago? Obviously, was a horror, as we all know. How did that change the marathon for you and in general? Do you think, Bobby?
Well, I don't think it did change the marathon. I think it's still a celebration of life, and it's life, and that showed the human spirit fighting back against something that's dysfunctional and crazy. It just, the human spirit triumphed.
Do you buy that, Amby?
Yeah, I was in the group that was stopped a mile from the finish in
Oh, right.
2013. I didn't get there, and at that point I was running Boston every 5 years. But the whole world, we wanted to come back in 2014 to just prove how much we loved the event, the people of Boston, and their support for us. So I came back in 2014, and now
You
I
ran with the
decided
Martin
to
Richard
keep going.
team, did you not?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Did it change it, Bill Rogers?
I think the marathon is the same all over the world, and
How
and-
so?
Because it's always been a sport, and this is something that I learned as a young high school kid when I ran my first road race, which was won by this gentleman 9 times, the Manchester Road Race, and where I saw him give a television to the first woman standing on the side of the road who wasn't official, named Charlotte Lettuce, one of the other first ladies of running. But I think the marathon's always the same. We all get along. It doesn't matter your race, your religion, your income, all the barriers that divide the world. But we seem to have perfected something in the marathon. Isn't it true, Amby? And Roberta, I think we.
absolutely.
But I think it's the safest place to be in the world. But I understand that for security reasons and everything, what you do, you have to protect people.
But
And-
by the way, Commissioner Bill Evans, Boston Police Commissioner, is on our show quite regularly. He and his people have gone out of their way to have the security make sure people are safe, but be as unintrusive as is humanly possible, so it can still be the family day that you all saw it to be. Even though when you guys first ran, 500 people running in the race? How many people were running when you won?
There were 500 people, but I want to point out there were thousands and thousands of spectators because the people and communities of this city have always supported the marathon.
Speaking of that, I just remembered when nobody knew you were running the race, and then all of a sudden the word got out that there was, oh my God, a woman in the race in '68.
Well, they
Am I
did.
not right about what happened when you ran by Wellesley?
Well,
Because the word had already gotten there, right?
They knew I was running because when I hid in the bushes and then I jumped into the middle of the pack, and the men quickly realized I was a woman, and I took off my hooded sweatshirt, and the men around me were very supportive and friendly, which is one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to end this stupid war between the sexes and show that men and women can do things together and celebrate all of life together. And they were very supportive, and I said, I'm afraid they'll throw me out if they see I'm a woman. And they said, we won't let them throw you out.
The other men said. But
The-
didn't
the-
Wellesley women,
Oh, the
college
men-
students,
yeah.
flood the route when they heard that there was a woman running the race?
There was a local radio station broadcasting my progress, and so when I got to Wellesley, they knew I was coming, and they were waiting and waiting and waiting. And then when they saw me, they just went crazy and yell and scream and crying and tears. And one woman was going, Ave Maria, Ave Maria.
So what do you say, Bill Rogers, all three of you, I'm going to go down the list. There's somebody who was watching this, the excitement for non-marathon runners peaks on Boston Marathon Day. You go out the next morning and there's zillions of people running for the first time. What do you say to that person who maybe can do a mile, maybe a mile and a half, but wants to do 26 next year or the next year? What do you say?
I was with another Wesleyan teammate of ours named Jeff Galloway, and I was actually with Amby. And a friend, and someone said, every time someone sees you out there, you inspired somebody. So Roberta did that in '66. Amby did it in '68. And I don't know, maybe I did it a little bit, but I
Maybe
think
a
every
little bit.
single
I think so,
every single
yeah.
runner does that. You don't have to win the race or be first. Just being there is kind of a cool thing.
So you're the Grand Marshal this year, is this right?
Yeah.
For the 50th anniversary of your run? What does that mean?
Right. Well, it's a great honor. I was actually training to run the race,
Yeah, I know.
and then I got bronchitis, so I wasn't. So they were so sweet, and they made me Grand Marshal. So I always feel as though this is my family, and I'm coming home to it every year.
That's great. And you're running.
I am running.
You
I'm
ran
up there
again the year of the marathon. You ran the bombing. You ran the year after, as we said, the Martin Richard team. And weren't you handing out little cards or something?
I've got those cards still, again, to
Thanking people?
thank the spectators. I just am so grateful for the support we've received here for all the years, and it's fun to give them to the little kids with the outstretched
So you're
hands.
running on Monday again?
I am.
You ready for this?
No.
Okay, good. And what are you doing Monday, Mr. Marathon?
On Monday, I'm going to go watch the race, cheer the runners on. I love to see the runners come in. And then my girlfriend Karen and I will go across the street and get breakfast, and we'll do a run ourselves. I'm not really a marathoner anymore, but in your mind, in your spirit, we always are.
You know, before you guys go, can I just get a little, I want to put up a picture of a young, promising marathoner and get your sense if you think this guy's form is really good. Here's a guy crossing the finish line at the New York City Marathon. I'm not sure what year that was, but it seems to me the guy looks really promising. What, as the former Runner's World, what do you think of that?
I think all he's got to do is move to Ethiopia for a few years of altitude, and he's there.
Fabulous.
Gold
Do you have any
medal.
thoughts for that guy?
Well, I think he looks very happy.
He did.
So if you're happy and you're enjoying the sport, you got a long career ahead of you.
Roberta, you want to give us a final thought on that guy?
Right. I have no idea. He looks fine to me. Happy.
He was
and-
me, let me tell you. Not quite in their league, but he was me.
Was it
Bob,
you?
It's so good to meet you.
Was it you?
Congratulations.
Oh,
Your
okay.
work is beautiful.
Thanks.
Congratulations on the Grand Marshal thing.
Always a
Amby,
pleasure to
great
see
book.
you,
And Bill
Jim.
Rogers, you are Bill Rogers.
All good.
And
This
thank
is
you for
good.
this. I really
Kinda cool.
appreciate it.